Welcome to the ExecMBA podcast. I'm Brett Twitty, Director of Admissions for the Executive Formats of the Darden MBA, and you are listening to a new episode. So in this episode of the podcast, I'd like to continue our exploration of entrepreneurship and the executive formats, as well as our look at the student organizations in the Executive MBA program with a conversation with Eiman Behzadi. Eiman is the president of our Entrepreneurship Club in the Executive MBA program, or what's called EMBEC. That's Executive MBA Entrepreneurship Club. And he and I sat down and talked a little bit more about his background and what led him to Darden, as well as the Entrepreneurship Club's plans for the coming year. Of course, the Entrepreneurship Club is one of 6 student organizations that we currently have in the Executive MBA program. So if you're interested in learning a little bit more about extracurricular life as an executive format student at Darden, you're really going to enjoy this episode. So, without further ado, here's my conversation with Eiman Behzadi. Eiman, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Brett. Appreciate for having me.
All right. So, Eiman, for our listeners at home, tell us a little bit more about yourself. Who are you? Where are you from? How did you decide to pursue an MBA?
Yeah, so I'm originally from Los Angeles. I came out to D.C. in 2009 for grad school at American University. And after grad school, I went into the military, was in the military for about 5 years, got out summer 2016, and went straight into the government after that. And basically my first year of government, I decided, an MBA might be a great way to figure out if I wanted to stay in the government or maybe go into industry. And I thought the Roslyn location for the Darden MBA was pretty good.
So, obviously a lot of MBA programs out there to consider and to choose from. What led you specifically to Darden? What was it about the program here that really resonated with you?
Well, one, I work in DC, so that's super convenient. I don't have to go far when classes are in session. And two, I am a military veteran and have the GI Bill, and Darden's super friendly with veterans for the GI Bill. And third, I like the DC alumni network that's out here, and specifically like in Northern Virginia and DC. So I thought Darden kind of gave me the best options for all of those.
So you're now over a year into the program. I believe you're officially in quarter 7 of the program.
That's right, yeah.
Right. Hard to believe that
yeah, it is.
That you have so quickly advanced to there's only 10 quarters in the program. You're almost done. So almost to electives, which is even crazier. So how's it going? Are you enjoying it?
Yeah, I love it. It's definitely more than I even imagined it would be. It's definitely a great experience. Made some awesome friends here, which is kind of partly what you do in an MBA program, right? It's a great network. And I think I've gotten an exceptional education so far.
So, have you done a global residency yet? Have you been on
a global
trip?
Yeah. I've done China, and I'm now up next to go to India.
Okay, so you're going to do 2 global residencies.
Correct. Yeah.
So, talk a little bit about your trip to China. We've had a few conversations with students on the podcast about the experience of going abroad as part of a global residency. What are a couple of highlights from that trip?
Yeah, so we started the trip at Beijing and made our way down to Shanghai and really hit the 2 kind of main, Beijing being kind of the political capital, and then Shanghai being the financial capital. So we got kind of a taste for both of those types of things while we were in China. We got to meet with several companies while we were out there, and got a good feel of like how business works in the country and how a foreigner can come into the country and actually do business.
I believe you may have also heard from the former chief economist for China.
That's right. Yeah, that was a great class we had with our economics professor. Is a complementary to what we were learning at the time, which was macroeconomics, and I think that was fun too. And
you were over there in the midst of all of the tariff conversation.
That's right. That's when all the tariffs, were initiated by this current administration. So it was definitely an interesting time to be there.
I would think so. So obviously we've invited you here for a variety of reasons, not just to talk about your Darden experience, but to talk specifically about your role as a leader of our Executive MBA Entrepreneurship Club and your passion for entrepreneurship. Our loyal podcast listeners out there know that we've had an ongoing series on the ExecMBA podcast about entrepreneurship. We think that entrepreneurship makes a lot of sense for students at Darden, students in the executive formats at Darden, because of the case method, enterprise perspective, the focus on sort of thinking about the whole business and the full business operation, even if you're thinking about a particular problem. So, what are you most passionate about when you think about entrepreneurship? What makes you excited about entrepreneurship?
Yeah, I think most people who come in with the mindset that they want to be an entrepreneur, they've kind of already decided that like that's what they want. Like, why do I want to be an entrepreneur? Me personally, I kind of want to be my own boss, and I think that's kind of the impetus for a lot of people that come in with the mindset that that's what they want to do during the MBA. So, you come in, you kind of throw out ideas. A lot of our cohort has done that since I've been here. We've kind of helped other people. A few people have actually even started companies while we've been here, yeah.
So when you think about maybe an idea that you have, are you actually in the process of starting a business, or are you sort of just still ruminating on a particular idea?
Yeah, I'm definitely thinking of different things. I think at the moment it's just ruminating, and just talking to other classmates and figuring out, throwing ideas back and forth and seeing kind of what sticks sometimes. But I think it's great because so many people, there's such a breadth of experience in our cohort. We have like doctors, lawyers, CEOs, COOs, and just kind of like being able to chat with those individuals, I think gives you a lot of perspective on the type of thing you want to do as an entrepreneur.
So we've had different conversations with entrepreneurs on the program, and some of the conversations have been around sort of organic student-led initiatives around entrepreneurship, so pitch nights and that sort of thing. The Executive MBA Entrepreneurship Club is a more formalized example of students organizing around a shared interest in entrepreneurship. What are your goals for the club in this year as you think about leading the organization?
Yeah, so the club's pretty new. Like, it was first, I believe, chartered last year in last year's cohort. So we're kind of just getting off the ground, kind of trying to do some baby steps and figure out what the cohort wants. Like, that's the first thing that we have to figure out. But essentially, the low-hanging fruit for us is bringing in kind of like a speaker series for different types of industries that people might be interested in, whether it's like a search fund or like a franchise, or bringing in people who've had multiple experiences with different exits out of companies and in startups. And I think that's kind of the first thing that we want to start, which is kind of the simplest one. The next thing would be maybe to have like workshops that talk about maybe like design thinking and other kind of components that go into being like a effective entrepreneur. And then thirdly, it's just figuring out if we want to do like a pitch night, which I know they did in the last cohort, and then maybe that eventually being like almost ending up it being as like a Shark Tank type of thing. But again, it's pretty fluid right now. I think the big thing we're trying to focus on is bring in some great speakers to expose some of the students to different industries, and then from there, it's just going to be flexible with what the cohort wants.
It's exciting to hear the class of 2020, the class behind you. So when they introduced themselves to their classmates as part of the first leadership residency, we had at least 20, if not more, students who said, "Hey, I'm interested in starting a business. Here's what I'm passionate about. If this sounds of interest to you, come see me." And, I was excited to hear that, because I think that's so much about what you learn how to do at Darden. You learn how to think from that C-suite perspective. You learn how to think that sort of enterprise perspective mindset, which makes so much sense if you're running your own business. And so I was glad to hear that. And I think having things like the Entrepreneurship Club that people can see and be aware of as a resource help people understand that this is a place that's entrepreneur friendly.
Absolutely, yeah. And the interesting thing is I've already, many people from the 2020 cohort have reached out to me, expressing kind of their interest and some of their ideas. And I'm excited to kind of go out there and talk to some of them too, and see kind of how we can incorporate them into the EMBEC program or EMBEC club. And yeah, so I'm excited about that.
So one of the things that's been fun to hear students talk about is sort of, we have this ecosystem, right, of activities and things that happen. You have sort of the more formalized institutional resources. Then you just have some of the informal, a few students sitting around, they have a common interest, they sort of start kicking around an idea, you know who you should talk to, you should go see this person. What you were talking about earlier about leveraging the different perspectives and backgrounds in the classroom. So when you think about, the club and sort of the latent interests and native interests you have in entrepreneurship within your class and potentially the class behind you, what would success look like for you as a leader this year?
Well, this year, success would be every on-grounds, we have either a speaker or some event, at least kind of one of the days for both cohorts. It could either be a speaker or a workshop, but pretty much kind of getting people engaged. That's kind of the big thing that we're trying to do. Get people excited about entrepreneurship, and even people who may not know that entrepreneurship is a route, at least have them be exposed to kind of interesting concepts that they maybe didn't think about before. And kind of going forward, a great success would be if the 2020 cohort, takes the baton and kind of runs with the program and expands it even more, and builds out the network, I think. And that's kind of, that I think would be a great success story.
So asking you a slightly different question is, so sometimes people think about entrepreneurship as a thing, right? As something that you do. Ruchir Gildial, who was a 2018 grad in our Charlottesville section, EMBA format, he talked about an entrepreneurial mindset, right? You can think entrepreneurially doing almost anything. So what's your take on that? How do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things you learn as you kind of really try to immerse yourself in entrepreneurism is that it's tough, right? It's like there's a lot of facets involved to it. It's not just like, hey, I have an idea and then all of a sudden the idea is going to just take off, right? Like there's a lot more involved with thinking of an idea, right? Like an execution and part of that execution could be a lot of different things, marketing and finance and accounting and all these different things that are incorporated really with a lot of the stuff that you're learning. So I think when Ruchir mentions thinking in an entrepreneurial mindset, I would think that he's thinking you got to think in all these facets, right? Like it can't just be, hey, I have an idea, right? I mean, an idea I think is worth, it's a dime a dozen, right? I mean, there's a lot of ideas, but executing on an idea using all these different skill sets, especially the ones that you learn in an MBA program, I think that's the toughest part.
So how do you feel Darden has prepared you to either start or run your own business?
I think it's done a great job. I think I came into this program, I had a liberal arts background. I didn't have a lot of quantitative background. So when I came in, I knew I wanted to focus on the quantitative aspects. So finance was of interest to me, macroeconomics, operations, accounting. So these are the classes that I kind of put a lot of time into to prepare me to think in those terms. Either if I become an entrepreneur or if I go to another company, at least I can have that ability to kind of think that way. And I think Darden has done a tremendous job to prepare you to use those skill sets outside of the program.
So you mentioned, obviously we talked a lot about entrepreneurship here, but you mentioned your initial impulse in terms of coming to business school was you're working in the government and you were thinking about setting up a career transition. How's that going?
Yeah, the one thing that you always hear about an MBA program, it's a great degree to kind of open up your aperture, regarding other types of industries, right? So you come into a program like this and there's people from doing all kinds of different things. And the mere fact that you're studying, the case method about all these different types of companies, you can be exposed to different industries in that way as well. So, with that, in that respect, I think it's exposed me to a lot of different industries I didn't know about. And I think it's done a good job doing that. But it's also kind of emboldened me to want to be an entrepreneur even more, right? And I'm always kind of looking at how I can get an idea and then execute it, right? And in using the skill sets, the toolkit that kind of Darden has given me.
So we think about wrapping up this conversation. The question that I ask a lot of people who come on the show is, what would you want a prospective student to know about Darden? If someone was sitting here in the room and they asked you sort of, Eiman, why Darden? What would you tell that person?
Yeah, so I mean, Darden, it's a different brand, right? I mean, there's tons of MBAs out there, and Darden brands itself. There's this very specific brand Darden has, right? And it's, the teachers are different, like the professors are different. They're very engaged. They're very kind of helpful, and I think Darden's rated, like their professors are like the best like every year, which is true. I mean, I totally some of the best professors I've ever had. And also the network and the people that you meet. I mean, you meet some exceptional people that you may not have the opportunity again to be in such a great cohort. And the fact that you're in DC, you guys got a great new facility, which is amazing. I mean, if you've never seen just probably the best view I've ever seen of DC up here, and it's brand new, so it's pretty cool. Yeah.
Well, the only thing that we haven't figured out how to do on the podcast is to translate the view from the 31st floor of our facility here in Roslyn. But you are right. You don't really get tired of looking across all of DC.
Yeah, 360-degree view of the whole area. It's awesome.
And you can take a tour of DC without ever leaving our facility. So, well, Eiman, thank you so much. Good luck with the Executive MBA Entrepreneurship Club, or EMBEC as it is known. Sounds like you've got an ambitious year ahead of you, a lot of exciting stuff planned, and good luck in India. What are you most excited about with respect to your trip to India?
Well, India, we have the regular program that we're going to do, which starts on like Sunday and then ends the following Friday. Mm-hmm. But what we have is a bunch of us are doing a trip after to Agra and Jaipur. And I believe Agra is where like the Taj Mahal is, and we end a trip in Delhi, so it's not that far. Mm-hmm. And then another subset of our cohort are going to Dubai, which actually there are some Darden alumni there, and mm-hmm. we're going to try to like connect with them. And that's like the most exciting. I mean, yeah, we're going to have a great time while we're in the program, but doing that extra end of the trip is going to be fun.
So you're also going to Dubai? That's
correct.
Wow.
Yeah.
Have you been to Dubai before?
I have not, no.
I've never been there either. I've just seen the pictures.
Yeah.
Well, I might have to have you back on the podcast to talk a little bit more about that. Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your evening. I know it's a busy time. We're certainly appreciative of it, and good luck this year.
Yeah, thanks, Brett. Thanks for having me.
And that was my conversation with Eiman Behzadi, a student in our class of 2019. Of course, as always, if you have any comments, suggestions, requests, we're all ears. We're always looking for your suggestions and ideas for the podcast. We can be reached at exec, that's EXEC, MBA at darden.virginia.edu. Until next time, thanks for listening.